Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I have the opportunity to work on an interesting reel. This is the Crack 1200. This is a French-made reel. We've seen the bigger cracks that kind of look towards the French-made surf reels. This one's kind of an intermediate reel. It is made in France. Everything seems to be working well on it. Seems to have a little catch issue with the bail. I'm thinking maybe the bail wire has been bent a little bit, but it does function properly. So we're going to take this reel apart. We're going to show you how it's made, how to service it if you have one, and see what we can do maybe about that bail issue there a little bit later. This has access from two sides. Both side plates come off, as does the spool, and we're going to start by removing the exterior part, which is the spool and the handle and the side plates. And as we do that, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you do enjoy the art of reel repair, and if you do like to see how reels come apart, how they're made, how they're serviced, and how they're given a second chance. Well, please go ahead and do that. I notice we have a drag washer just sitting up there. It's not pinned in or anything, and we have a little click spring below that's going to interface with the click ratchet here to make the noise when that spool is going out. I'm just taking a quick look here. I'm not seeing much going on. We'll get underneath there in a moment. All right, we want to take the two sides off. I'm not sure if this is going to unscrew. It will. It unscrews in a clockwise manner, and the handle leaves the stud of the main gear on there. And then we're going to be able to remove the three side plate screws to get a better look at what's going on underneath. Well, if you subscribe and if you hit that notification button, you'll see all the reels I work on. You basically, if you're not familiar with my channel, it's a look over my shoulders at the reels that come into my shop for service, and occasionally some of the things that I may find on a flea market or that. I really don't actively pursue finding reels, but if there's a candidate out there that's going to make a good video, every now and then I'll pick one up just to use as the subject of a video. But I certainly keep busy enough with all of the reels that are either mailed in or that are brought into my shop, and that notification when you subscribe will show you all of those and how we can work on those. This has a unique click button for the anti-reverse. It's mounted on the top. Most of them tend to be mounted on the bottom. We're going to see if we can't trip that off somehow. Well, it's still going in that direction. All right, so it goes to the left to bring that off. We'll take a look at that mechanism underneath. I always like to move that to the off position before I remove the main gear. That way I don't disturb the way that the reel is set up. All right, very simple work inside here. We have a plastic or a nylon crosswind block. We have a core stud. And we're going to have to go over to the other side, I assume, to release the axle shaft to go underneath to the top. So let's do that. Now, I kept the three screws from the left side in my parts tray. I just used the bottom of a fast food container or a milk jug. This time it happens to be the bottom of a fast food container. And I keep them separated just so that I don't mix them up when it's time to go reinstall. I also like to put them on my table before I put them into the tray. That way I know that all of the screws are equal in threading and diameter and length and things like that. And if I identify one that's different, well, what I want to do there is I want to make sure that the oddball, if you will, is identified and worked through. Okay, we have a plastic side plate there, and those three screws came from there, so we're going to put that in. And now I need to figure this one out because I don't see a pin or a tie down that's holding that one shaft to the axle. Normally it would just be a screw going through there. Now I'm going to look for like an E-clip or something. There's a possibility that exists. A little hard to tell at the moment. We've got to clean up some of this excess grease here. Okay, well, looking at this, I've done a little bit of cleanup. I'm stumped, so I need your help. Well, I would like any offer or suggestion that can tell me what this is about. So I cannot find a clip below, in the center of, or above that would be holding this block in, similar to, let's say, a Mitchell 302. I have a hole here, but that hole goes completely through, which would normally indicate that you would have a pin holding this assembly to the axle shaft, but there's no pin. And when I grab, when I grab the axle and try and turn it, well, there's no movement in the side-to-side turn. And I'm afraid that if I grab this thing and try and wrench it, I'm going to snap that nylon block, and well, that'll be the end of this reel, which is working perfectly fine, other than, well, we took it apart to see how this thing works. So I'm going to take the spineless way out. I just don't have the courage to want to break this reel, but I will continue here. We want to see how the rest of this is made. And again, maybe David in France, who watches our channel and knows a lot about these reels, can help me. Perhaps Armando knows a little bit. And anybody who can contribute to this one, well, I would appreciate that. I'm using this as a learning experience. This one was picked up. I personally own this, so I'm not terribly worried about the reel. I would like to find the answer to that, so that in the future, if I see one of these, and this is the first one I've seen, but if I see that reel come in, well, maybe I'll know a little bit more about how to deal with that removal of the axle shaft and getting underneath, because I want to get underneath there so that I can see what's going on with the trip mechanism on this. It's held in here by 2 screws. There's a baffle plate underneath that. But I can't see how the locking mechanism is working without removing this axle shaft to get to the baffle plate, and so on. All right, well, I've done some superficial greasing. That'll certainly keep this thing rolling. We've greased the 2 slides for that block, and now I'm going to take a look at that unique anti-reverse system. As we said, if you push this to the off position by pushing it closer to the center, that enables me to spin this back and forth. And if I come over to the other side, well, then I have my click mechanism. So that's one I want to look at, because most of the time, as I mentioned, those anti-reverse deals are below here, and they have a dog mechanism that moves in and out with a camber. So let's see. I did clean the face of the main gear. Let's remove it now and see what we have underneath. Okay, well, this is a little bit different too. And always interested in design. So we have a spring mechanism here. We have the switch. The spring mechanism appears to be under a stud here, and on top there, holding that in place. That spring may just be pressed into the case. That may be a part of this this metal piece right here. So it's always good to try and notice. This is now in the off position. We've pulled that all the way around, and when you push that into the case, that spring is holding tension on the dog here, right there. And when you push it in towards the center of the case, this flat bar comes out and moves that over. When you slide that bar to the left, now you have the dog engaging with the spool, and that spring is doing what it should do to make this click. So again, this is kind of a tuition reel here for me. I just picked it up to see what we could do with it, and unfortunately I'm stuck, but I know that there are a lot of folks out in the channel here, a lot of viewers that know a lot more about these things than I do. So please, if you know how to get that crosswind block off in the axle shaft, let me know. It's probably something obvious that, well, I just haven't learned about yet. Always learning. So I appreciate any information you can give me on that, and your comments and help will be certainly appreciated in this. All right, I'm just going to put this back together then. We've greased the shaft, we've greased the face, we've greased the gears, teeth. We've checked the teeth, make sure that they're all uniform and clean. We've inspected what we can without removing the rotor up here. So now you want to just take the stud here and make sure that the stud meshes into the little groove. Once that meshes in, you can put the side plate on. And once the side plate's on, you can go ahead and align those 3 holes. Let's take the screw holes here. This appears to be one where you can just simply reverse it if you want to have a right-hand crank versus a left. Just move the pieces and parts over to the other side. In this case, most reels are designed for right-handed folks. If I remember, it's like a 90-10 split. 90% of the reels are made right-handed, in the olden days, if you will. And now most of them come with the ability to swap the handles so that all reels are ambidextrous, if you will, and will support either right-hand or left-hand crank. The older ones, like the Mitchells and some of the early Penns and the like, not quite the case. All right, we can see what it's got there. Let's put the handle on. We'll show you how this thing moves up and down. And then we're not going to be able to do much more until I find out the secret behind how to remove that axle shaft or block. But right now, this is how that reel works. And boy, it's a nice, smooth operating reel. This is the Crack 1200. Operates beautifully. And we'll anxiously await to see if there's a way to get that off, or if it's just being stubborn and a pin belongs in there or something. This is a plastic plate. The rest of the case is metal. We're just going to go ahead and put that case back on now. Tie this down, and we'll just put it aside and try to learn a little bit more. I didn't look for a schematic. It is possible that there is a schematic that shows a little bit more information about it. I haven't looked on the website. All I know is I'm going to guess this reel is the 1960s, possibly the 1970s. So this is from Crack came out in a lawsuit against Luxor. Crack, I believe, won the lawsuit, and Luxor went away, but they were basically either joint companies or perhaps the same company with different patent rights. There was something that definitely went on there. I don't remember the full story. However, Crack was continued where Luxor went away, and this is one of those examples. Okay, we have a whole bunch of tensioning washers in here. As I mentioned, you don't have the clip. That's okay. Right now I'm just trying to reseat this. So if you have this, there's a solid metal washer that goes in here. It's a keyed washer. It's rectangular. Then we had the tension washer, and then we had the drag washer. And now we have the cap, the adjuster button. Be careful when you're putting these adjuster buttons back on. You need to make sure that they thread properly. If they don't thread properly, you risk cross-stripping. And if you cross-strip this well in a reel this age, you're pretty much done. This one's just being a little stubborn here. Stubborn seems to be the middle name of this reel. We have a crossline block that's a little stubborn. There we go. I think we got it now. And there we go. All right, so we're in the off mode now with that click. Let's bring it back to the... We have our anti-reverse. Still have a little bit of an issue with this bail. It'll only set in certain positions and it won't hold completely. So you would expect it to set back here, but it's only setting to there. So we're just going to have to figure out what's going on with that when we get some more information. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been a tuition reel. It's been interesting. It's the Crack 1200, and we'll await to see who out there can help me try and figure the rest of this out. To all of our first responders, essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you're doing. And to everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle with the Crack 1200. Everybody, please have a great day.